All right, we're here. It's Sports Talk Live, along with the Brain Trust. This is the dog days of summer, and it is in full effect, along with Michael Plundo, Cade McConnell, UTEP Zay Galindo, Alberto Reta. We got the full Brain Trust here today. Steve is out. Who knows what is going to happen when the boys are here. We're going to take over here for 2 hours today, and then we've got Tim Haggerty on the call for some Chihuahuas baseball. Cade, we're taking over this week here.
That's right. It's going to be me and you flying with the boys this week. It's going to be pretty exciting. Steve has had a tendency the last however many shows that I've been in to get a little off track. So now that Steve isn't here, I can only imagine where we're going to go.
All right, Zay, can you make sure we're recording here on the podcast here today? Appreciate you. Zay, you just got a chance to get out to UTEP basketball practice. You're now joining us here today. Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. Full summer and full swing here on the show today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back, and I enjoyed watching some UTEP hoops. It's never too early to talk some UTEP hoops.
I love it, man. What were your impressions today? We talked a lot of UTEP hoops yesterday. KJ Thomas met with us, Devin Barnes, Ahmad Bynum. It was great to meet up with those guys and talk to them face-to-face for the first time this year. Your thoughts on the new team?
Yeah, like you said, yesterday was newcomer day, but the people that stood out to me were the 10 returnees. I think that's really, really rare today in college basketball, and they gelled really well together, all 10 of them, and even the newcomers. They fit in very well with the culture of the team.
It's interesting, Alberto. We were watching Euro soccer earlier today. We'll get into France. We'll get into the big one that happened earlier, but Spain with the big 2-1 victory over France. That's huge right there, man, and big day for soccer. Copa America later tonight. I know a lot of people are waiting for that one, which will be really exciting. Messi, you told me off air, he's going to be playing here tonight, so that'll be huge for Copa. Do you think Argentina could get it done against Canada?
Yeah, I think they're heavily favored, and I think rightfully so. I think it's their game to lose, honestly. I think the way they've been playing, it's going to be really hard for Canada to get it done. They're going to have to play a pretty much perfect game.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. I'm interested, though. 6 o'clock, that one gets underway. Once we get off air, you could listen to some Chihuahuas baseball, mute the TV for Copa, and then watch some Argentina-Canada. There you go. Semifinal action tonight. 6 o'clock, FS1 will have it. Michael Plundo, you wrote NFC East. I've got burning questions for you. You write a segment on all your stories where you do like burning questions. I got burning questions for you, so we can get into those. And I want everybody to answer or think about those. But before we get to that, just preview the story. Talk NFC East with us. This is the story that you hit on this week in particular. So give us your thoughts. NFC East, you previewed it. You gave ceiling and floor for every team.
Yes, and to the Cowboy fans out there, I don't know if you're exactly going to be happy with me, but sorry, this is just how I feel about your team, so I'm just going to get that out of the way before we dive deeper into this. But really, it's the same thing I've been doing for the NFC North and the NFC West. Ceiling, floor, burning questions, what are some holes on this team that haven't really been addressed? Like an example could be the 49ers, the whole contract dispute with Brandon Ayuk. Where is that going to end up going? And then in the North, what's going to happen with J.J. McCarthy? When is he going to get the call from Minnesota to come in and show what he can do? And then for the East, I talked about the Cowboys. I went into deeper dive onto what Jerry Jones said about going all in this offseason, which they did not do, spoiler alert. And it's just, I'm confused on that. They only added Eric Kendricks, Ezekiel Elliott. Are those needle movers? No. So, we talk all about that, including the Eagles, the Commanders, and their new era with Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels, and then the Giants getting now Malik Neighbors in the fold.
Yeah, by the way, I'm a big Malik Neighbors fan. I know, Cade, you know what my dad was telling me the other day? I was telling him, hey, we're going to host for a couple days, and, it's the dog days of summer, not a lot to talk about here. My dad was just like, whenever you're in doubt, you just lean on football.
100%.
It's like the easiest thing to talk about. You talk about it 365. You can go college, you can go NFL, you can go any really direction. There's a lot to get into college football today. Today the tablets were passed. It's only a matter of time before we start to hear about earpieces actually being allowed for sidelines to use across college football. But when in doubt, talk football, right?
No, absolutely. In fact, I've already been at home watching my YouTube, different podcasts, podcasts and shows about fantasy football getting ready because, I mean, my league back home, my home league, is about as competitive as it gets. And so if I don't stay with it, I'm going to miss information. So you can always go back to the offseason of football. You can always lean on the moves that are happening. And there's a lot of question marks that happen, especially every offseason with the NFL, but especially this offseason with a strong quarterback class coming in. The Commanders have been on my mind a lot. What is that team going to look like with their receiving core, a new coach, and a brand new quarterback? So we could sit here and I could talk offseason football with you all day long.
Yeah, before we talk football, I want to talk baseball. You heard you found out news today. You'll be throwing the first pitch for an El Paso Chihuahuas game.
That's right, July 20th. It's a Saturday. I'll be out there throwing the first pitch for the Chihuahuas game. It's an honor and it's so fun. I mean, I can't tell you how much fun I have at those games. So we're looking to go and then bring a little crew out of football players to come watch the game. So if you guys are there July 20th, come out. Maybe you'll see some UTEP football players in the stands. Grab a photo, autograph, whatever you want. Say hi to us. We love it. Nice little chance to get into the community.
Wow, I can't believe it, man. Throwing the first pitch. Have you ever done this before?
Okay, so I have thrown a first pitch before at the Little League down here on the west side.
Yes.
I forget the actual name. I think it's like Southwest. Is it Southwest?
Yes, no. Southwest Baseball League?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Southwest Baseball League.
Might be butchering that, sorry.
Yeah, threw the first pitch there. I still have the ball from it, and I need to redeem myself a little bit. It wasn't bad, okay? I didn't warm up. I didn't practice. I thought my natural abilities were going to be enough from all my years of pitching. I would have absolutely domed the right-handed batter if there was a batter there. The catcher, I felt so bad for her. She had to, jump for the ball. Made a great grab. Acrobatic catch, but I need to redeem myself.
And this is going to be an actual catcher behind the mound there, so
exactly.
Behind the plate.
So I can warm up, right? I can warm up and let one hum?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
but it'll be cool
plan.
To be out there, man. And Saturday's always a great crowd. There's always great atmosphere out there for the El Paso Chihuahuas, so you'll be in front of a good crowd out there. We got it. So what's the introduction? Maybe you get a walk-up song, maybe something like that. We got to have some conversations with Andy Imfield, who comes in our studio.
I was just about to shout out Andy. Andy, thank you so much for making this happen, as well as Alex Campbell. I mean, they put this together for me and allowed me to do it. And listen, I'm a baseball fan, but a baseball player at heart. That was my sport growing up since I was little, and I thought I was going to be a baseball player all the way up until probably my first or second year of high school. So throwing a first pitch at games is no light thing for me. It's an honor, and so I'm really happy I get to do it. Shout out to those guys.
Yeah, and El Paso Chihuahuas. I mean, to do it in front of the home team, the home crowd, that's awesome stuff right there. So Saturday, July 20th, you can mark your calendar for that. And speaking of, coming up here with the El Paso Chihuahuas, I'm glad we're bringing them up. I'm glad we're talking some Chihuahuas baseball. Not only are we also talking about Chihuahuas baseball that's happening later tonight, of course, 6:05 first pitch out with Tim Haggerty on the call. OKC, it's out in Oklahoma City tonight. But we actually found out today that night, how about this? It's Harry Potter night. There you go. Anybody a Harry Potter fan over here? Are we? No, we're getting. No? Oh, okay. Alberto's a little Harry Potter fan. Okay, Gryffindor over there, Alberto.
Oh, no, actually, I took the test and I'm a Slytherin.
I'm
a bad person.
I knew it.
It's in direct relation to his dating life.
Michael, not a Harry Potter guy. Not a Harry Potter guy.
I read the books when I was little, so I mean I was aware of the storyline and what it was about, but it wasn't something that I extensively watched.
Okay, so Harry Potter night, Friday, July 19th and July 20th out at the ballpark. Scarf giveaway. They're doing a Harry Potter themed scarf giveaway. First 1,500 guests in attendance with paid admission while supplies last. There's also a ticket add-on for caps. So this is all happening that weekend. The giveaway happens on Friday. Both Friday and Saturday night will feature add-ons for caps, and all the caps, this is interesting, it represents each of the Hogwarts houses. So there you go, man. I mean, the fireworks spectacular, that will be happening on that Saturday where you're throwing the first pitch. Cade, so there you go. A little Harry Potter, Cade McConnell night. Let's go.
It's going to be awesome. I'm not a Harry Potter, super fan, but I love watching those movies. And I read those books as a kid, and I'm put it this way, I'm very excited that it's Harry Potter night.
Okay, we'll make it happen, man. Harry Potter night, July 20th, Cade McConnell. He's going to be throwing the first pitch, El Paso Chihuahuas baseball. That's all coming up here later this month. We got Chihuahuas baseball here on deck tonight. 6:05 is the first pitch. Let's talk about the game from earlier today, and I want to also mention this one that Alberto wrote on the website, 600ESPNElPaso.com. FC Juarez season opener review. Okay, strides in offense and room for improvement ahead. Alberto, you wrote this article on our website talking about your analysis after watching FC Juarez. We also have Joe Rod's recap of the game up on the website, along with the Bravas recap from over the weekend. But you tell us, Alberto, when it comes to this team, first reactions, first analysis, without giving your story away here, and encouraging people to check out the website and read this one.
Well, it was a great game for those in attendance. A lot of back and forth, but there's just a lot of room for improvement for the team.
So when you talk about room for improvement, or you just talk about highlights, give me like one highlight, give me one thing that you want to see them improve on here in the future.
Well, that's such a good question. I think that they need to improve at home. They can't drop points at home. It's crucial for you. You struggle on the road. Your home games are huge. You need to convert.
Yeah, and you've got to win at home. I mean, especially because, like you outlined in your story, the road ahead is difficult. They can't take these home games for granted, and just coming out with a draw might not be what this team needed. But good stuff. Check it out, 600ESPNElPaso.com. Let's talk a little bit about what happened earlier today. Spain, France. Simply put, what happened to France? That's just my question. I thought France was going to pull this one out, Alberto. Instead, Spain ended up winning. We were talking about, I was asking you, give me the NBA comparison for this team right here, and I brought up the Mavs a couple years ago when Dirk was on his last leg and Luka was coming in as like this newcomer. Is this Spain team, tell me about this team right here, because I was so impressed by them today in the Euros and how they were able to beat France 2-1.
Well, they have a young sensation called Lamine Yamal. He's 16, becomes the youngest goal scorer. I previously mentioned that. And this France team just kind of stumbled into the semifinal, not really putting anything concise together offensively, and they really suffered from that here today. So I think that this is just, the byproduct of a poor tournament for France. That you come in, you don't score the goals that you used to. Mbappe gets hurt. He doesn't have the tournament he wants. And then on the other hand, Spain comes into this one extremely strong, as they usually come into all their international tournaments. And Lamine Yamal, great game from him. Alvaro Morata, he's phenomenal. And you think, well, what could have France done? Nothing. At the end there, they threw the whole book. They put everybody in for attack. They put in Griezmann. They put in Camavinga. And it's just they put in Oliver Giroud for Dembele, and it's just not enough. So they tried everything they could, but Spain just had them figured out.
Okay, I got you. Now tonight, you kind of gave us a little prediction already and what you kind of think for Canada and Argentina. We'll talk about that one more here later on in the program. We're just getting underway. We got the full brain trust here. It's Cade McConnell. It's Michael Plundo. It's Zay Galindo. It's Alberto Reta, and I'm Adrian Broadus. We're filling in all week long for Steve Kaplowitz. He's out on vacation. He'll be back in action next week. But let's get things started right. Let's go out to Charlie 1. He's got our first traffic update of the afternoon. When we come back, let's talk to Cade a little bit about changes in college football that we might see in the coming years, along with a check-in when it comes to practice at UTEP football. So we'll do all that and plenty more coming up next right here on 600 ESPN El Paso.
Adrian, in the El Paso Metroplex, a few rough edges here I want to touch. First of all, in central Montana and Airport, we have traffic lights now working. To add to this congestion, it's narrowed down to one lane here, Montana and Airport. So a lot of congestion here. Traffic lights not working. Then 3600 East by Santa, we have a wreck. PD will be investigating that one. We have some closures going on. This one, heading for that traffic to be single file here. I-10 East of Los Mochis, left lane taken away. So we see the traffic in single file, especially the 18-wheelers there. I-10 East at Los Mochis. And Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Rimcon. We have the popular Mr. T Specials, everything you need there. Popular Mr. T Specials, party trays, full venue. Over the first of Papia. Thank you for choosing Leo's. Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Rimcon. Charlie 1, that's a look at traffic right now. Charlie 1, KROD 600.
All right, welcome back. Sports Talk continues along with Zay Galindo, Michael Plundo, Alberto Reta, Cade McConnell. I'm Adrian Broadus. We got a full house here, and we are continuing here on the show today. Going to be an exciting one ahead of Chihuahuas baseball. Let's jump into some college football talk here on the program today, guys. This is from the Big 12, and I got to get Zay's thoughts on this, and then we'll open up the can of worms here with the Big 12, okay? We got one of our members here, Michael Plundo, who goes to a Big 12 university right now, by the way. And Cade McConnell last year played at Big 12 university? Question mark? No, I was wrong on that.
No, I don't think anyone in the Big 12.
Nah. SEC this year and Big 10.
SEC and Big 10 this year, Big 10 last year, and do we have another Power 5 opponent last year?
No, that was it, right,
Just
Zay?
one?
We're good on that. Arizona last year. So now a Big 12 team. There you go. Last Pac-12 team last season. So there you go. This came today. Big 12 had their media day today, guys, and their commissioner Brett Yormark, who's pretty controversial to say the least. He said this today. Okay, he said a lot of different things. He had a lot of different quotes, and he was quoted by a lot of different for a lot of different takes that he had today. Okay, the first thing he said was, "We have solidified ourselves as one of the top 3 conferences in America." Okay, we're talking football right here, right? We're not talking about basketball here yet. We're not talking about volleyball. We're not talking about soccer. We're talking about college football right here. This is Big 12 Media Day, and this is talking football. So he said, people keep asking what's next. We are, meaning the Big 12. He also said that he prefers and favors commercial jersey patches. But this is where I need your help, Zay. This is what he asked, that he said today. The Big 12 will be the deepest conference in America. Every week will matter. These are the comments today by Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark. Your thoughts, Zay, is the Big 12 the deepest conference in America?
No. I mean, I think he's got to say that because he's the commissioner of the Big 12, and I do think it's a very deep conference compared to, the ACC, but it's not. It's easily the SEC. You have Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M. I can keep going. I mean, these are schools that are perennially, fighting for a top 10 spot, in the CFP. So I'm going to say no, but I do think it's a very deep conference considering, how realignment has shaped up.
So that's the interesting part, right? And I got to get everybody's thoughts on this one right here. The Big Ten right now, just for everybody who's doing their homework at home, and this is actually, let's go to the Big 12 first. Let's talk about their new acquisitions. This year they get Arizona State, Arizona. They also get Colorado. They also get so those are pretty much the only teams out of the Pac-12 that they're acquiring. But remember, they already had BYU. They already had teams recently like UCF and Cincinnati and Utah. That is another Pac-12 team right there. And then, of course, you got your old teams like Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, West Virginia, Kansas, Iowa State. The only difference, and the biggest 2 differences, no Texas, no Oklahoma. That's the biggest thing right there for the Big 12. Going over to the Big 10, they acquired Pac-12 teams like Oregon. That was huge for them, and that's a big market right there in itself. UCLA and USC. Okay, you just took all of California and SoCal pretty much right there. Washington, the Washington Huskies, so you're trying to dominate that Pacific Northwest, coupling them and Oregon in that picture, and then all the others, meaning you have the lows like your Indianas, your Marylands, even though they've been okay over the past couple seasons, your Northwesterns of the world, even though they made a bowl game last season as well. But that's an interesting conference in itself. And then like Zay was pointing out right there, the SEC. I mean, guys, the only 2, I'll throw it to you, man, Cade. The only 2 teams out of the SEC in my eyes that are really down every year, really, it's Vanderbilt, and that's pretty much it, man. Vanderbilt, and that's it. Kentucky sometimes, but even they produce NFL caliber talent, and Missouri sometimes doesn't have the best team or program, but even them, they will commit dollars and resources to things. So do you think the Big 12 is the deepest conference right now?
I don't think the Big 12 is the deepest conference. I think you guys hit the nail on the head when you're talking about, the SEC is the SEC, and it is for a reason. And you have a team like Vanderbilt who's down every year, and, kind of the bottom of the barrel of the SEC. But after that, I mean, there's a lot of fluctuation in that middle tier. Then, of course, you have your very top teams, your Georgias, your Alabamas, etc. I don't think that they're the deepest conference, but I think that they had some really big acquisitions that are going to help. It hurts when Texas leaves. It hurts when Oklahoma leaves. But, I mean, look, you have a school like Utah that just joined. I mean, Utah has been in the top 10, how many years out of the last 5 years? They've been, nearly dominant. And they have Cam Rising coming back for his 17th season this season. So he's going to be able to come back and put them back on his shoulders, and they're going to have a good team again. So they did, make some strides with teams that they added. But when you lose Texas and Oklahoma, that hurts a lot.
Okay, Zay, are you sure they're top 3? Big 12 is the top 3 conference. You wouldn't throw the ACC in the top 3.
Yeah, I think the ACC, they're solid, but they're going to crumble.
4?
They're going to crumble apart. They're going to have one good team in the top 10, and that's it. Florida State and Clemson, they're going to run that conference as long as they're in it. And I don't know how long that'll last because eventually, I definitely see those two teams moving on.
Yeah, and I wonder which conference will be buyers, it's all said and done. Michael Plundo, your thoughts, new Big 12. Are you, as a Texas Tech student, are you annoyed with Texas and Oklahoma leaving?
No, I'm actually glad they're out of our conference based on what they did to us the past couple years, especially last year when Texas Tech went to Austin. That was not a fun game to watch at all. I had a couple buddies that went out there, and they weren't happy themselves either. But I think, the Big 12, it's not a deep conference at all. I mean, you look at the conference realignment. I mean, it is going to be entertaining to see, especially with Colorado coming in. Colorado will actually be heading to Lubbock, so I'm looking forward to that game. I already have that circled on my calendar. I'm definitely going to be attending that one, so I'm real excited for that to see Travis Hunter in Lubbock and Coach Prime. So that'll definitely be good for PR and that kind of stuff. But really, I mean, you got a lot of teams in there that are just hoping to be 6-6 and they're just hoping to, make a bowl game.
It's just so weird, guys. I take a step back. I'm the guy for change. I love embracing change, but Alberto, this is tough. As a lifelong college football fan, to realize that these once geographic regional rivalries are now gone, or now they're now in new regions and in new areas. I think the Big 12, geographically, it kind of makes sense, with a couple little exceptions. But the ACC is ridiculous. You talk about the Big 10, that you're covering all America there. The SEC, I get it. It is mostly the South, but still, I mean, it's going to take some time to really adjust to all the changes.
Yeah, I mean that in that Big 12, that the travel from Arizona to West Virginia is going to be brutal. I can't imagine what's going to happen. I guess I'll ask Cade. Cade, what do you think is going to be the long-term repercussions of long-distance travel like this for a lot of the football teams that have joined these huge conferences?
So one thing that's going to do very obviously is you're going to get extremely home crowds, which is fine because that's a home game and you want a home crowd. But it takes away that, that vibe of having, a big fan base in an area that may not be the hometown of that college that comes and supports it. It helps a little bit for fan atmosphere. There's some animosity there. That's part of the culture of college football. You got a small little tailgate going on before the game for the away team, and you got the big one, for the home team. But I don't know how many UCLA fans are going to be in West Virginia. I don't know how many California fans are going to be over there. It's really hard. The biggest repercussion to me in all of this is that the culture of college football is what makes college football. That is what it is. That is why it is different than the NFL, is simply that right there. The culture behind universities, behind students, and the school and the brand that they create. And a lot of that has been geographic for as long as we can remember. And dissipating the Pac-12 and taking away that side of the West Coast, with many schools that I grew up in, as fans of in California, not being there, not playing there, being across the country, it hurts the culture of college football because, how many times do you see stats pop up for, universities' legacies and things like that, or their record in the Pac-12, or how many Pac-12 championships they have, and it goes on and on and on. And I feel like such a big piece of college football culture is getting ripped out of it right now for nobody's benefit except for dollars in pockets of universities and TV rights.
Zay, I have to bring you in on this because you just did the Conference USA Roundtable podcast, and you hear these takes from the guys in other Conference USA schools, and I'm thinking to myself, Cade gave the example here at the Big 12 level, and it's a great point. But now we bring it back to Conference USA, and you talk about this league. There's no culture whatsoever. There's zero identity. And I was thinking on the round table, just like the discourse and everything like that, with all the different franchises, or all the different, not franchises, organizations, schools, and programs. There's no association. What does UTEP have in common with a school like Kennesaw State or with a school like Liberty? I mean, even a team that they played last year.
Or with a school like Delaware, like
there you go. And that travel
you're
next year.
You're usually not putting UTEP and Delaware in the same sentence, and for good reason. They're on the other side of the map, and they just, like you said, they have nothing in common, really, right? There's nothing similar between the two fan bases. Culturally, anything, right? So it's weird. I guess that's why it's called Conference USA,
Yeah, it's all across the conference right there.
And that's one of the, a little bit of the anomaly of the conferences is Conference USA, because it's so spread out everywhere. And that, to me, maybe it's because I'm a traditionalist when it comes to college football, but that's okay because it's Conference USA. That was kind of what it was there for. It was all, hey, these are the schools that we kind of picked across that aren't in the Power 5 or aren't in certain group of fives that are more geographical. We're going to spread them across. And yeah, I mean, it's a long flight to Florida Atlantic, and when Charlotte was in there, it was a long flight to Charlotte, but those were teams that had historically been in the conference. It was part of, the identity of Conference USA. The thing that you're talking about, Adrian, where there's, really no identity to that conference is because there's been so much turnover.
True.
Conference USA, when, my dad played there or when East Carolina was back in, it looks nothing, how it was now. So when you don't have those long-standing things, exactly your point, you get no culture from the conference. And so what does the Big 12 or the Big 10 and all these teams that have added to these conferences, what culture are they really adding? I don't think they are.
It's a really good point. I guess I hadn't thought about it that way, Zay. It's kind of always been like that. Like, that's what Cade's kind of alluding to. Conference USA's kind of always been this. It's been this kind of, all spread out, all across the board. And, maybe in the future, UTEP at some point can win and leverage winning and all that comes with that, which is really momentum, to get into a conference that maybe has an identity or some culture or some geographics, makes some geographic sense, like the Mountain West. Again, not trying to open up a can of worms, but these are why we have these conversations, right?
Yeah, like Cade is saying, it's kind of like Conference USA, their culture is having no culture. Their culture is, the ever-shifting landscape of college football. People are going to come and go. It's an open and close door, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it changes so much. I mean, think about it today. Let's get off this subject, and go into another one, but still with college football. Today we hear the news, the tablets will be allowed. I mean, now we're going to have tablets on the sidelines for college football players, coaches, and everybody to use. In the past, Cade, you weren't able to break down film, and for somebody who's very analytical and data-driven when you look at how you evaluate your own game, now you get to do it in real time. Now you get an actual monitor that's going to show you, I think it's like 4 different views from what I'm seeing, at least at the higher levels.
See, I mean, it's amazing. I got to do this in high school and then didn't get to do it in JUCO and, nowhere near anything at the Division I level. And it's such a vital part of the game that's been integrated to high school and NFL, that in certain states in high school, I should say, and the NFL, that we've been missing. I am very analytical and very detailed about things, but I'm also a very visual person. If I can see something, usually I won't forget it. That was how I always took my tests in school, and that's how I studied. But when you have something in front of you, whether you're watching film of a play that had just happened or you're trying to see a look and study a guy mid-game, which can absolutely happen, when you are actually able to see that in front of your eyes as opposed to a coach up in the box saying, hey, Cade, every time that safety has his left foot forward, he's going straight to the middle of the field. And every time that he's even stance, he's coming down into the box. Okay, yeah, you can trust that, right? That's pretty clear cut, but sometimes it's not. And if you can look on film and see those things, what it's really going to add in the grand scheme of it all, it's going to allow for cleaner football. Because for the most part, this benefits the offense. Because the offense, defenses have assignments and offenses have to get creative to get around those things. And so when you're able to see a defense and what they're giving you, and then you can better game plan around it, it's going to allow you to be a little bit cleaner. When you see, what comes to mind very quickly, because Brady was such a technician with all that stuff, was hitting Edelman in a window about the size of a football in between two guys. It was because they were able to go see that on the sidelines and they were able to study that. You're going to start seeing better high-level play from offenses because they're able to study
Wow,
mid-game.
that's interesting. But maybe it won't translate for some players. Like some players don't actually, they're not visual learners, and stuff like that. So it might actually help people like you who really like this kind of stuff. Do you feel like for others who don't process film and aren't visual learners like you're saying right there, might not necessarily help them?
True. It could even go as far as to hurt them, because sometimes you may have a quarterback who's just he's a gunslinger, a field player, and a scrambler, right? And those guys are not trying to find every detail in the defense to give them information. They're kind of dropping back and going off of, hey, this is how I feel about this
Shador.
play. Exactly. He's feeling exactly what's going on. Maybe he's not studying as much, and that's fine. There's different ways that guys play quarterback. But if you're not one of those guys that likes to be technical about it, and then you're trying, now you're like, hey, I saw this on film, and now you're paying attention to it. Maybe you're not reading it out. You're too worried about what you were looking at. It's very easy to overthink as a quarterback.
Okay, I'm going to ask Michael and Alberto and Zay to ask Cade a question here about UTEP football here in just a bit. Just about the summer workouts and stuff that are going on right now. I'll start it off. Cade, summer workouts, we're alluding to it right here. You're getting tablets on the sidelines eventually and earpieces in the helmet here at one point. But where's this team at right now? We said it earlier in the week, just yesterday. It's time to talk UTEP football. It's really, after 4th of July, really time to turn the page and start really diving into football head first. And so that's an exciting time of year. We wrote the preview yesterday. I wrote the preview yesterday, just kind of first analysis, first look on this team. But you tell us, where's this team at right now?
Right now, for the entire offseason, it's been very easy to look ahead to Nebraska. But you got to focus in, and you got to take it one day at a time. And, the workout has to matter more than the first game at that point. That way, you don't start looking ahead. You don't start skipping things or taking advantage of the day in front of you. But now, Adrian, we're starting to get to that time. We're in the second session of summer where it's workouts and it's OTAs, and it's time to start really, fine-tuning skills and getting your body right to do the things that maybe you weren't as good at last year. And then it's time to start watching some film on Nebraska and maybe some of those other early opponents to get some information under your belt. And that's where we're at right now. Can we elevate ourselves from where we were at in June and take it into July, and our workouts get better, our lifts get better, our runs get better, our OTAs get better, and, we try to elevate ourselves and take that next step into being a polished football team.
Cade, what's been the biggest difference between, or you're very far along, like you said, in the summer programs. What's been the biggest difference between the start of the Walden era and now?
The buy-in. And that's the short answer. The longer answer is that you can walk in to Coach Walden, feel his energy, and feel what he stands for, and say, I got you, Coach, I'm in. But it's a whole different story to actually be about it. I've said it on the show before. I'll say it again, and I'm sure it'll come up many times. But whatever you think you should do with Coach Walden, you should do more than that. If you think you should do 5 push-ups, you better do 10. That kind of thing. That's what I've learned from being in this program so far. And the farther that we've gone on along this, that's what's changed. More guys have not only just said, hey, I'm in, I'm buying into this culture, I'm buying into what we believe here as a team, but they're actually doing it. They're believing it, and they're putting in that extra work.
Cade, last year you saw your first career start over FIU in a great game played by you. Now that you kind of get a feel for how the college football atmosphere is like, what are some things to your game that you want to maybe think that you could be better on, like when you look at film?
Absolutely. One of the things this offseason that I've tried to be better at, number one, is just feeling comfortable back there. And I think that happened over the course of the season. I always felt pretty comfortable, but the more reps you have, the better you feel with it. And I wanted to get more comfortable in this offense, which I felt like over spring ball, by the culmination of the spring game, I felt as comfortable as I possibly could. The other thing that I really want to work on, too, is just being more dynamic, right? There was a lot of times where I felt like, maybe I was dropping back in the pocket, trying to assess a defense and make a great decision, when a quarterback's job is to be able to feel out the situation, feel out something, get outside the pocket, extend a play, run for a first down, go and extend, let somebody scramble and have a guy get wide open deep, and throw it. How many times have we seen great quarterbacks and great football teams be so good, not because they can draw the X's and O's perfectly, but because you can make something happen, play backyard football, get a guy open, and next thing you know, you have a 40-yard gain. So that's one of the pieces of the game that I'm really focusing on this offseason.
Cade, what I want to know is how drastic of a change is it going from, I want to say one football ideology to another. I think Dana Dimmel and Scotty Walden are, they're a bit different when it comes to on-the-field, play. How difficult has that been, or has it been even difficult for you?
Difficult isn't the right word. I think, Zay, if I could put it in my best terms, it's 50-50 in the sense that sometimes football is just football, right? Whether it's a different ideology or not, football can be football, and at its roots, there's a lot of things that are similar. On the other side of that, there's two completely different programs when it comes from Coach Dimmel's program to Coach Walden's program, and as a player, you have to be able to adapt to that. As a quarterback, going into a new offensive system is like getting a new house in a new city with a new family, new kids, and a new dog.
Wow.
Everything changes. Your mindset is not the same way. You know, you may lace up your cleats and go out on the field the same way because football is football, but when it comes to your mindset, how you approach things, how practices go, what your thought process is on a daily basis of how you're going to maximize everything that you do, it becomes completely different just by, and then that goes for all coaches across the country because every coach has a specific way that their program is ran in order to maximize things. In this era, it's very different than last year. You have to be able to adapt, and you got to be able to take some of the things that, you've learned over the course of your football career and just apply them to this year.
Good questions, guys. I love it. Cade, you have any questions for the guys? Any questions for us?
Yeah, are we going to have fun the rest of the week without Big Boss Steve?
Well, of course. Come on. We always have fun. We always have fun, even with him.
I do have one real question, though. I have two questions. Maybe one of you guys can take one of them and one of you guys can take the other. That's fine. You don't have to be biased with me sitting here, but two questions. One, what is a success? I asked this last season before. What is a successful season for the UTEP football team this year?
I think we all have to answer this one.
Is it a bowl game? Is it a 6-win season? Is it a conference championship? Is it, an 8-win season? Is it a 5-win season up from 3 last year? Is that the goal? I'll leave that first and then I'll go to my other.
Okay, Zay, you started off. You go for it.
I think a successful season is a bowl win,
Wow,
a bowl win
that's where you're at right there?
It's year one. I'm not going to come out here and say a successful season is 10 wins, and it doesn't seem attainable at this time. I think a bowl win, 7-6 over 500.
That's some high expectations right there, Zay. I like it. All right, let's go with you, Alberto. Your thoughts. Successful season.
I guess just
I like Zay's standard, by the way.
Good quality product on the field.
Okay.
On both sides of the ball, just look like everyone wants to be out there and everyone's giving it their all, and just commitment to the program and the coaching staff. I think that's what the whole fan base wants to see, and just improvement from last year, right, on all aspects. I think that's kind of a gimmick. Wins and losses, to me, it's not about that this first year. It's just about kind of improving what's being sold on the field, and I think everything else is just kind of going to roll into place.
Okay, Michael, your thoughts. You give some thoughts.
I'm with Zay too. I think if Cade and the boys can get to a bowl and get a bowl win, I think they'll get the city going crazy, and I think that would be amazing to see. So that's what I would say.
So my expectations and how I view success, Cade, in year one is simply to rebuild and to go through this transition with like with a smooth transition. And I see this as a rebuild and a transition year. This is me detaching from what we're talking about right here. But I also think this is a really tough schedule. Last year, the front end of the schedule really hurt you guys on the back end, whether it was injuries that mounted up or it was just the motivation and the momentum, the downward momentum that really deterred the season by the end of the year. So this year has that as well. It's a tough schedule. It's at Nebraska to start off, at home against Southern Utah, which is no easy layup. Then you go on the road against Colorado State, and then you got to take on Liberty on the road after that. Those 4 games are no slouch. I mean, my expectations kind of similar to Alberto. I don't want to quantify wins. I think what would result into positivity or something like that, or just excite the fans. It's not. I don't like this thought lovable losers. I don't like that whatsoever. But November, play with a purpose. When's the last November that UTEP football has played purposeful football? I mean, really, the last time I can remember that is the bowl season, the 7-6 season. And even when they were flirting in the mix 2 seasons ago, I wasn't really bought in. I thought that they lost too many games that they could have had earlier into the year. So I want you to ask your second question when we come back from the break. We're a little overdue, but I like the thoughts. I like the question there, Cade. So Cade's going to give us the second question here after the break. You good with that?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. All right, let's take a time out right here. When we come back, more Sports Talk here, 600 ESPN El Paso. Continuing here on 600 ESPN El Paso Sports Talk. Brain Trust here. Cade, before we wrap up hour number 1, we don't have a lot of time here in this first hour. We'll have, obviously, all of next hour to continue this conversation. You're asking us questions. We're talking Conference USA. We're talking football. We're talking all sorts of college football storylines right now. Cade McConnell, UTEP quarterback's in the house with us right now, as he does every Tuesday and Thursday here on the show. Talking Under Center is coming up this Thursday, by the way, presented by the Oscar Arrieta Agency. Excited about that. Cade, give us your second question right now.
Yeah, I got a couple more for you guys. This you put it great when you were talking a second ago. You said meaningful football in November. So, in the first year of the Scotty Walden era, if UTEP football is playing and when UTEP football is playing meaningful football in November, what do you guys think that the attendance is looking like across the board?
Okay, Alberto, let's start with you. Attendance average, just for reference, just for context, UTEP averaged 19,000 fans in 2022. Last year, they averaged 18,000 fans. They were not top in Conference USA, although they did carry the largest attendance at one point last year. They weren't the largest in Conference USA. Best in CUSA was Jacksonville State at 20,000, followed by Liberty at 18.9. Then came UTEP at 18.1, and then everybody else. So your thoughts, Alberto?
I think if that's the case, you could easily be looking at 40,000 people plus in the Sun Bowl, which is a great number.
Wow, you think 40,000 plus?
If it's November
wait.
and they're playing meaningful football, yeah, people are bandwagons here.
Goodness.
Yes, they would.
Really?
Alberto, what are you defining as meaningful football really quick?
Anything with a bowl
Yeah,
consideration.
you're playing these games in November to maybe get yourself into a bowl, and you've been playing well. I mean, look, you have to think about the implications of what this means. It means you're rolling into football. You're rolling into November, playing football well enough to be maybe considered for a bowl game. So you've given a product on the field that has sold people on what you're selling, and people should show up.
Okay, so real quick, let me just jump in here real quick, just to put it in context, because I think this is important. November 2nd, we're talking meaningful games in November. November 2nd, 1:30 kickoff. November 9th, 2 p.m. kickoff. Okay, so just so you guys know, that's not great for El Paso crowds right there, not at all. Zay, your thoughts quickly as we got to wrap up hour number 1.
Yeah, if they're playing meaningful football and they're up at 8-9 wins, and yeah, maybe it can touch 40,000. But last time they were playing meaningful football in El Paso in November was the 2021 bowl season, and the one game that they did play, I think, in November at home was against Rice, and it was empty. It was empty during a daytime game, and they won that game, right? They were coming off a couple losses. I will say that they needed to win that. So, I can definitely see a world where, hey, they are playing meaningful football and they only give out 25,000, which would be a huge disappointment in my opinion.
Cade, in terms of capacity percentage for what UTEP fills and what they could fill, meaning the Sun Bowl fits around 45,000, and right now UTEP is only filling about 38% of that. I think if UTEP played meaningful football in November, that number from 38% last year, that was just this past year, it's only being filled up 38% last year. I think that number jumps up to maybe closer to 50, maybe closer to 60, but we live in an era right now, Cade, where everybody has access to watching these games like never before. I mean, there are people here in El Paso who are a die-hard UTEP football fan who just would prefer to watch it on TV and maybe not go to the game, and especially if it's an afternoon game. You're also talking about a working town, so those factors all play into it.
They do. And, one of the points that I was going to make, too, when Alberto and Zay were speaking was that you have to factor the Coach Walden era into this, too. I think that grabs a new hype. And, sometimes all it takes is people going, yeah, I really like this new coach and this new team. And, yeah, I want to go. I want to support. Where maybe the excitement hasn't been there over the past couple of years before that. We were in bowl contention in 2022 with some of those last home games. We ended up on a 5-win season in 2022. And so we were, according to Alberto, that was meaningful football. That is still in bowl contention. And there was, I'm sure around similar numbers there that, to last season where we were definitely under 50%. But I agree with you, Adrian. I think that we could see it jump over 50%. A lot to do with Coach Walden and the energy and excitement that he brings.
Sure.
And, of course, it depends on how many wins we have at the end of the season. I understand completely that people, I see the videos on FitFam and whatnot of people losing their minds about, UTEP football games at home. But Some people are going to watch it at home. You have to have an exciting football that you can put out on the field, an exciting night experience and all those type of things, which, let me add this really quick. I believe that UTEP football games do a wonderful job of everything around the stadium, making it great. Have I ever watched a UTEP football game in the stands? No, I haven't.
Not, yeah.
I've been on the field. But when I'm there or when I haven't been playing, and I was fourth string last year, and I'm looking up at the video board, we have great stuff that goes up there. Our media team is great. We do a lot of things. Our announcers and our, over the PA is great. I think there's a lot of things that make UTEP football games a great experience. And when we add a great product next year, along with an exciting new head coach and a new culture like that, I think there's going to be a lot more people in the stands.
Coming back, hour number 2, coming up next here, Sports Talk continues here on 600 ESPN El Paso. All right, welcome back. It is hour number 2 of Sports Talk, along with the full crew here. No Steve Kaplitz. He's on vacation. Long overdue. Much deserved for Steve. He'll be back in action next week. It's Zay Galindo producing the show, screening the phone calls. It's Alberto Reta co-hosting the show. We also have Michael Plundo and Cade McConnell co-hosting, along with yours truly, Adrian Broadus. We are moving through. We've got a busy week of Sports Talk. Tomorrow, we will be talking to Mike Lee Kanarick, and this is going to be awesome stuff coming this Saturday. Championship Martial Arts, a self-defense seminar for beginners this Saturday. We'll be out there with our sister station, Kiss FM 93.1. The morning session focuses on mastering knife defense and tackling carjacking scenarios. The afternoon session features knife fighting and third-party protection. This is open to beginners or for somebody who's looking to add a new skill, men or women. Championship Martial Arts, they offer daily classes for adults and children. You could still get tickets to the seminar. You could still learn more. All you have to do, visit Championship Martial Arts on social media. Click the link on their bio. They've got all the information when it comes to the self-defense seminar coming up for beginners, no experience whatsoever, and this is hosted by Mike Lee Kanarick, and it's coming. We're going to have this conversation tomorrow. We're also going to raffle off some giveaways for some spots for this one, so that'll all happen tomorrow here on Sports Talk, and the seminar itself is Saturday all day. There's a morning session and an afternoon session. That's all coming up this weekend. So that's coming up here on the show tomorrow. We also have Jeff Erickson tomorrow on the program, and then later in the week, Cade's got his second segment on the program with us, Talking Under Center. He'll have a special guest with us. Cade, without giving our listeners a lot of information about who or what's going on here in the future, there could be a really big event that you host, you yourself, Cade McConnell, host here in town for, I don't want to give too much away for it, but just for people here in El Paso. There could be a really cool event that you host later this month, and I'm really excited about it.
It can be really, really fun, and probably one of the most fun things that I've gotten to do in El Paso outside of playing football itself on the field. And without going too much into it, I mean, the dream team has come together and has been cooking in the background, and hopefully everything plays out the way it's supposed to, and it's going to be really, really, really special.
Yeah, I guess that's about all that we could say right now. We'll get more details probably next week. We also have the Win the West contest that's coming up with the Oscar Arieta Agency. That's coming up soon as well, Cade. And you're Talking Under Center segment brought to you by the Oscar Arieta Agency, so good stuff there. But we were talking before the break a lot of UTEP football. And, of course, Cade right now is going through summer workouts with the team. He's getting ready for the season. It gets underway August 31st. Almost 50 days, by the way, guys. Crazy to think that college football is almost here. College football 25 is right around the corner, which is really the first. That'll be the signal right there. That'll be kind of like the real thing right there, Cade, to get things started. But, yeah, I'm just excited. We're right around the corner.
An update with college football 25 just for everybody with speculation and how are they going to get it all done and everything. I have not received my copy of the game yet. At least I don't think. Maybe I need to look back through the email. But I can confirm that EA did it. They got everybody emailed that was was officially in the game and got them sent their $600 of what they were supposed to do. Yep,
It hit the bank account.
Already hit the bank account,
What?
and I was like, "That is."
Zay,
but
this
that
is breaking news.
That is a huge pat on the back to EA. I mean, there is so many people across college football that are
and
in
all your
this
boys,
game.
everybody.
I mean, pretty much everybody that is, I think, maybe some are still waiting for it to come through where it says processing. But, like, the point is that it's there. Like, EA did it. They got the rosters. They locked it in, and they made sure they sent it all out. I mean, what is it, July 9th right now?
Wow.
I mean, the game doesn't come out till July 19th, and there's already players that are locked in, ready to go. I think that's just the biggest pat on the back for EA.
I'm hoping there's a Twitter feature. Maybe they'll have at UTEP Zay in there. They can send me a smooth little picture.
He's talking
hopefully.
smack on the message boards. Wow, Zay's over here subtweeting and hashtag minor talk. What's going on? Man, there could be some really cool possibilities here with this video game. I can't believe players got paid already, guys. That's mind blowing. Zay, that's some good stuff right there. EA's doing it right.
It's great. 600 may not seem like a lot, but when you count in the amount of players that they had to send that to, it's kind of insane.
You guys, did you guys know today that Texas quarterback Arch Manning has reversed course? We found out today that he's actually in the game. Michael, I didn't know this. This is breaking news that happened today. Arch Manning is officially in EA college football. This was supposed to not be the case. He got a lot of backlash for it. And then it quieted down, and now we find out that he's actually in the video game.
Yeah, it was funny because I was at work earlier, and then I saw Arch Manning trending on Twitter, and I was confused. I was like, what is he trending for? And then I go and I see that, the news of what happened, and then I'm like, oh, people are sure going to love this. And I was just scrolling through some of the tweets that were said, and you were exactly right. Some people gave him major backlash.
So this is Eli Manning earlier today with the announcement of Arch Manning getting on the video game.
All right, here we go. Let's go gun far, Simon right nasty, Z Riz, F whirly bird, alert scarecrow. All right, use a little cadence here. All right, you ready?
Are you sure about this?
Absolutely. I mean, this is the best way to focus on football, all right? So get your eyes on the safety, be vocal out there.
Yes, Coach. I mean, Uncle E.
It's better.
Green 18! Green 18! Omaha? Hut!
All right, there he is. Now! Boom! Touchdown! Now
Man.
That's why you're in the game.
EA Sports. I'm in the game.
I love it. That is such a cool promo. Man, I'm an Arch Manning fan, Cade. Wow.
Oh gosh, I'm okay.
Shaking his head too. I got the Arch Manning haters over here.
Okay,
what's going on?
Zay, please tell me you're on the same page as this with me, because
No,
Zay
guys.
tends to like somehow have a complete opposite take as me usually, or something. I mean, I don't know, but my whole goal this year is to be on Zay's good side. If I can do that, I know I had like a super successful season. Anyway. I believe that it is way more headlining news that Arch Manning decided to not be in the game than it was that he decided to be in the game. So the fact that like he did this big reveal, like, oh guys, now I'm joining one of the 11,000 that were already opted into this game like a normal college football player would want to be. I mean, congratulations. Let's celebrate Arch Manning. Okay, this is going to sound so mean, but let's celebrate the second string quarterback, of Texas to, come into the game. It's like, come on, Arch, you should have been in this from the beginning. Like, this had nothing to do with focusing on football or whatever exactly he said at the beginning. But Zay, please tell me you're on the same page here.
I am on the same page. And, why we're celebrating, like you said, the second string quarterback of the Texas Longhorns being in the game, it makes no sense. Word on the street, though, is he got paid to promote this game.
What,
North
do we know
of $50,000 per on three.
Wow,
Per
yeah,
on three.
it's a commercial. Yeah, it's a
So-
commercial. I get it, but a $50K check for a commercial, that's a nice payday right there. And to just do an 11-second promo with your Uncle Eli, like, come on, man, that's so easy. That took 2 seconds for him to tape. Come on, that was easy stuff. You're right there. Well, that was interesting. That was an interesting take. I didn't expect to get that from you. All right, Cade, we just talked about it right now. You're giving us some questions about our thoughts. We're media. We have some media members here in this building, some fans / media members in this building here too. And we're talking UTEP football. And you said you were going to ask us some questions. Your first question had to do with expectations and what we think here for year one and what does success look in our eyes. Zay shot to the moon. He was saying bowl game. Ivan on Twitter, he said right now a successful season for UTEP football for year one is not making a bowl, but winning a bowl after 50-plus years. Wow. A successful season for year one is winning more games than last season, getting a sellout and beating NMSU. Again, it's year one. So there's some thoughts on that first question right there, Cade. Your second question had to do with attendance. If things are humming, things are working, what's attendance looking like in November? Alberto was talking about things like 40K plus. Maybe that actually happens. Maybe it is the case if it's an exciting brand of football. Give us your third question. What's next on the agenda here?
So I would can you hear me? Are we good? Oh, okay. I would love for you guys to go as specific as possible on this one. Get as detailed as you can with this. But I would love to know what each of you guys, you guys watch UTEP football, you studied UTEP football, you've seen what it's been over the past few seasons, and you know what, you're supposed to be expecting for this season in terms of what the football is supposed to look like on the field. What are you guys looking forward to seeing or would be excited to see out on the field specifically?
Okay. So things that you would be excited to see on the field. I'm going to start this one first. I'll let you guys do some cleanup here. My thing, Cade, here's my thing. I've really enjoyed watching the UTEP defense over the past 3 seasons. It really started off by guys like Breon Hayward setting the standard and guys like, Praise Mehule. Even beyond that, it's like Jadrian Taylor. It's just like really fun, exciting players to watch. I could even go a little further back. I really enjoyed watching the Denzel Chukwukelus of the world and the Nick Needhams of the world. I really enjoyed watching, maybe even over the last 7 years, I really enjoyed watching the UTEP defense. Now it flips a little bit. It's a 3-3-5 stack defense that you don't really need to go into details. I can. But this defense right here is real interesting to me because Maurice Westmoreland, who I feel like is the most NFL-ready player on this UTEP team right now, he's going to be switching over to like an outside linebacker position so he can kind of go either down on the ground and kind of dig deep in the trenches and start from the ground, or he could pop up and start up from an actual stance. So kind of like a Micah Parsons role right there. So when you have a tool like a Maurice Westmoreland and you can kind of play around with him on both sides of the football, rushing the passer, I'm interested in that. Like that right there for defense for me. What can the defense do to wreak havoc, in terms of these games, and how can we see the defense, succeed here in the future? I think there's a lot of different playmakers on this defense. It starts with guys like AJ Odoms, and you also talk about hard hitters like Oscar Moore, and maybe even some newcomers like some of the guys from Austin P. I'm interested on the field to see what the defense could do this year. Does that kind of answer your question?
That does. That's exactly what
cool.
I'm looking for.
Let's go over to you, Zay. Your thoughts. You go ahead next.
Yeah, I'm ready to see that blue blaze in action. I'm ready to see the blue blaze in action. Watching the Dana Dimel offense for a few years, it obviously wasn't pretty. It worked at times, but it wasn't pretty to watch. It got a little frustrating. I'm ready to see this quick blue blaze offense that I keep hearing about. We got our first taste of it at the spring game, and I want more.
Okay.
I want more.
Michael, let's go with you. What do you want to see from UTEP football on the field? You turn the game on, you're streaming the game. It's a random Tuesday night, and your friends are like, wait, there's a college football game? And you're like, yeah, it's my hometown UTEP. They're playing on Tuesday.
Well, UTEP has had some really good, you've already alluded to it, Adrian, but UTEP has had some good defensive players come out recently. I mean, Tyrese Knight going to Seattle recently in the 2024 draft, and Praise was amazing last year. So, I mean, there's been some really good defensive players. But going over to the offense, I just want to see an aggressive offense, Go out there, maybe go for it on fourth down once in a while. Cade, you already kind of were talking about that earlier. And then maybe letting it sling out there a little bit and just being aggressive and maybe coming up with trick plays where no one's going to expect it, just getting creative with it.
All right, Alberto, you clean it up.
Well, what I'm most excited for, first I'll just kind of reinforce what Adrian said. I firmly believe the games are going to be won in the trenches. It's just huge. But I'm really excited to see, the evolution into the running back position, this minor back thing, how that's going to work, how it's going to look. And, it's going to be a daunting task to replace the running backs from last year. Deion Hankins had 157 carries. Torrance Burgess Jr. had 124. They both had over 500 yards. So there's some holes to fill. And I'm going to be interested to see how the creativeness on the offense looks and that minor back position, I'm interested.
Okay. What do you think, Cade? We answered your questions okay?
I think those were awesome, and I think everybody had a little bit different of an answer, but that's exactly what I was looking for because, we sit up here and we analyze football. We talk about football. We talk about different things that could happen in football. And as we do that, it's cool to be able to sit with you guys and have somebody. I have all the answers in my head of, I've been out there in practice every single day. But it's cool to be able to sit in front of, you guys and my friends to be able to hear, hey, what are they thinking, right? What are they really looking forward to? And, maybe that translates to the rest of the UTEP nation that, really watches football at a deeper level too.
Our telephone number, 915-505-6009. You want to get in, talk some UTEP football, we could do that here on the show. We're just getting started here in hour number 2. Enrique Ortiz on Twitter, right before we get out to Charlie 1. Let's get this one in. He says, Cade, any word on your quarterback ranking for 2025 college football? I am hoping that I win the prize. # president of the Cade McConnell fan club. That's what Enrique Ortiz says.
First of all, thank you, Enrique. And that's awesome that you were back there on that Twitter poll when we first did that poll of what my overall was going to be. I don't know yet. There's been people and clips that have been able to see what they have. As far as I'm concerned, I have not looked at every single last minute of the most recent gameplay trailer, but there was no big, UTEP reveal or overalls of specific players on our team as far as I know right now. But I promise you, as soon as that comes out, it'll be up on Twitter because I'm anticipating it too.
Okay, so they're going to have to list the attributes too, right?
That's right.
That kind of stuff too. That's going to get funny, Zay. I'm just ready for college football 25. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, guys, let's take a time out right now. When we come back, it is time. It's time to dive into the NFC East. Michael Plundo's article talking NFC East. We're going to ask him some questions. He's the expert. It's on our website right now. You could read about it. NFC East division predictions, ceiling and floor analysis for every team. And Dallas Cowboy fans, you're definitely going to want to listen to this one because Michael Plundo is going to give you kind of the harsh reality of what to expect here in 2024. All that coming up and more here. Sports Talk continues right here on 600 ESPN El Paso.
Well, in the El Paso Metroplex, we have just a couple of minor trouble spots right now. First, Montana at Lockhart, we have a crash. PD still on this one, still working this one, Montana at Lockhart. But Montana at Airport, we have the traffic lights now working, and that's your busy area. That's your construction area where you're narrowed down on lanes, Montana and Airport, so extra caution here. And then we see some very busy, heavy traffic. You're bumper to bumper, US 54 southbound lanes to that Watersport. You're bumper to bumper right there moving at a crawl. Now, going on tonight, there's closures. Mesa northbound, reduced to one lane from Yandell to Rim. Mesa southbound reduced from one lane to one lane from Crosby to Cliff. So in that area, caution. A lot of construction going on there, especially on Mesa right now. Mesa and Camille also. Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Rimcon. That's a famous tortilla soup approaching 78 years in business. We have the popular Mr. T specials, fresh, delicious, affordable. Don't forget the delicious sopapillas. Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Rimcon, Charlie 1600 ESPN El Paso.
Pushing P, that's my favorite alphabet. She let me do as I please on my alphabet. When your lawyer paid off, you don't have to.
Sports Talk continues right here, 600 ESPN El Paso.com. Check out Michael Plundo's article up on the website right now. NFC East Division predictions, ceiling and floor analysis for every team. Alberto's got a story up, FC Juarez season opener review, their strides in offense, the room for improvement ahead. You can also check out Joe Rod's recap, talking FC Juarez as well, the recap and the Bravas. That's all up on the site right now. Check out the preview, UTEP Football 2024 season preview. That's up on the site. Sebastian Perez Navarro will also have his John Cena farewell tribute up on the website here coming up shortly. So that's all up 600ESPNElPaso.com and wherever you check out your podcasts as well. So let's keep it going. Let's do it. Let me ask you. Let me go with you, Zay. Let's start with you here, Michael. We're talking here a little bit about the NFC East. Your story today talks about the ceiling and the floor analysis on every team. And I want you guys to chime in, Alberto, Cade, and Zay, wherever you'd like here, talking NFC East teams and all that kind of stuff, okay? Let's do this one. I'm just throwing some random questions at you. These aren't burning questions that you have, so these are random questions that I formulated based off reading your story, okay? So I want you to rank these starting running backs in the NFC East for me right now. So last year, the starting running backs, Antonio Gibson from the Commanders, Tony Pollard with the Cowboys, DeAndre Swift with the Eagles, and then Saquon Barkley with the Giants. Now Saquon's over with the Eagles, which is a crazy switch. Cowboys get Zeke back, so he's probably leading the way for them. Austin Eckler most likely takes the bulk of the carries out in Washington, although they've also got Brian Robinson, so let's call that just Eckler for now. And then Singletary over with the Giants, which I feel like is a major downgrade right there for them. But rank those starting running backs in order from 1 to 4. Go ahead.
Number 1, I'm going to go with Saquon. I think that's the easiest choice here. I mean, I really don't think it's that much of an argument. I mean, yes, the guy has had injury concerns throughout his career with the Giants, but when he plays, he is really good. I mean, he's very fun to watch. He's explosive. He's a hard runner. That's what you want in a running back. And I mean, he's got a pretty hefty contract over there in Philly, so they're expecting to, him to live up to that contract and not have a DeMarco Murray 2.0 situation.
Okay, go 2. Keep going.
Number 2, I'm going to go with Eckler. Now, I know Eckler is coming off of a down year and with LA, I know, but I feel like when you put him in an offense where he's got a rookie quarterback now, I feel like Eckler is going to be the main focal point of that offense because they're not going to, ask Jaden Daniels to do too much because they don't want to, ruin him in his very first year in the league. That would be awful, but Washington does have a tendency to do that to quarterbacks. But I like Eckler's game a lot. I think he can help out in the passing game as well, not just the running game. And I think it's just a good pickup for Washington. I think him and Brian Robinson could be a really underrated tandem to watch out for.
I like it. Okay, keep going.
And then I think number 3, It's a little bit of a toss-up here. I mean, you got to go with Devin Singletary from the Giants, and then you got from team is blanking. Then
Cowboys.
Then you got Zeke. I don't think Zeke is that same running back anymore. I don't. This is not 2016 to 2018 Zeke, but I am going to put him here just because he is a starting caliber running back, and he could still get those occasional 100-yard games. He did for the Patriots last year, but I do think he's still better than Singletary. I don't think Singletary is exactly a proven certified starter that's done it for a couple years like Zeke has, but I don't think you're seeing the 2016 to 2018 version like we did of Ezekiel Elliott back then.
Okay, I got it right there. Can Jaden Daniels become the second best quarterback in the NFC East in year 1?
I find that hard to believe given the, just the team he's around. I don't think it's that good of a team in year 1. I mean, I like Terry McLaurin. I think that's a great receiver to have, but Washington's offensive line was one of the worst last year, and now you have Nick Allegretti on the left guard spot who spent the majority of his career as a backup. So, I mean, are you really going to trust a backup who's now going to be tasked with being a starter to protect a rookie QB on an offensive line that was bottom 3 last year? And then, I mean, I like the Tyler Biadasz pickup from the Cowboys, division rival. That's a good center. They needed one badly. Samuel Cosme's a nice right guard to go with, but left tackle, I mean, Cornelius Lucas, I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, I don't know if I can trust that. And then Jahan Dotson's been up and down so far with his career with the Commanders so far. And really, it's just kind of a wait-and-see type of deal, but I don't see it being like a crazy good offense in year 1.
Okay, so let's go with the third question I've got. Is Nick Sirianni closer to the top or the bottom of the best coaches in the NFC East?
I think he is closer to the top. I mean, The guy, I mean, he's been great for Philly ever since he got hired. First year, they made the playoffs with him. Second year, they made the Super Bowl. Now, last year, they were 10-1. They were, even though they're a little suspect at times, but they had a really bad collapse that ended 11-6, and I get why there were eyebrows raised if Sirianni is the right coach or not, but let's not forget, guys, the Eagles were in the Super Bowl not too long ago, not even 3 years ago. I mean, they were pretty close in that game. They almost won. They had the Chiefs on their heels a couple times, so I think Sirianni is a great coach. He's led some great offenses out there with Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith now locked up for the foreseeable future. So I think he's still a great coach.
Okay, crystal ball prediction. Next year, 2025, this time around, July of 2025, give me your bold prediction with the Dallas Cowboys. What's the team going to look like? What's the roster going to look like? What's the shakeup? Like, give me the bold prediction of what we're looking at in 2025 with the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm going to go with a very bold prediction here. I have a really gut feeling that Bill Belichick is going to be that team's head coach next year. I don't know why. That's been something I've been thinking about the moment he stepped away from the Patriots and they parted ways. I think this guy is going to end up being a Cowboy at one point. I think Mike McCarthy is, he's on the hot seat, and I think he's all but gone after this year. I mean, I think we all know what's going to happen with the Cowboys, so I think they're going to look into Bill Belichick. I think they'd be foolish not to, and that just seems like a Jerry Jones type of move.
Alberto, your NFC East thoughts, hearing Michael go off.
Well, he makes a lot of great points. Michael, one thing about Michael, and I'll tell this to the fans so they understand it now, is he's never wrong. So don't try to ever argue with him when he's telling you something. So, but look, Ezekiel Elliott's a horrible RB1 for the Cowboys. I don't understand how they're running with that. The only kind of glimmer of spotlight you can see is they're kind of going to use him as a dual threat. You look at his stats from last year. He had 642 yards on the ground, but he also had 300 yards pass in receiving. So they're probably going to switch it up
combined.
Yeah, so he's going to be that dual threat player, hopefully, and hopefully they grab someone in the offseason, because if you're going to lean on Ezekiel Elliott, you're not going to do much.
And you got second-year running back Deuce Vaughn from Kansas State, so, maybe he turns into something, but, we don't know. We don't know. We haven't seen him play, really, and we can't really – it's not fair to give a judgment on a player and say, oh, this guy's going to be great when he's barely stepped on the field.
Especially when, on the Ezekiel Elliott topic, when he was with New England last year, he was a tandem with Ramondre Stevenson out of Oklahoma, who was also Cerritos Falcon, went to my JUCO.
No way.
Yeah,
wow.
I practiced with him before he left, right before to go to Oklahoma, so he was on his way out as I was on my way in. But, Ramondre got hurt last year at some point, and Zeke had taken over and was getting a lot of time when Ramondre had fumbled a couple times or was banged up, and he had a lot of opportunity to show that, hey, I'm still the real Zeke. They just signed Ramondre to a huge contract, despite what Zeke just did. There's guys in the front office that make big decisions for a reason, and if he had that much opportunity and was able to go out and showcase that much and put on a decent product on the field of 900 yards and still didn't get what he wanted, it's a red flag for me. The other thing, too, Michael, is that I think that there's a path for Jaden Daniels to be.
Yes, thank you.
There is a path, and it's definitely the path less traveled and harder to see, but I didn't think that C.J. Stroud was going to be the quarterback that he was this year, and that's an anomaly. I understand. It's not very, very, very rare that a rookie quarterback has a season like that, but I do believe that there is the structure in place to get stuff done. The O-line is going to have to surprise me, because if you don't have the O-line, then it's very, very difficult to get stuff done in the National Football League.
And you don't want to damage a rookie quarterback in their first year. You don't want to do that.
No, you don't. But like you said, I think that they have enough confidence in him. I'm very high on Jaden. I train with him back in California, and when we go out there and I see him training with other guys that I believe are also great quarterbacks, he stands out a little bit to me because he's such a great athlete. I think that there's going to be times where it would be an injustice for me to compare him to Lamar Jackson. I don't think that that's a fair comparison. But when he does get to running, he is very dynamic. He is tall and lanky and quick. He has almost a basketball player-esque style to him.
The guy won the Heisman. His play speaks for itself.
Exactly. And I think he has the receivers there to get it done. I think that you talked about Jahan Dotson being up and down. I think that Jahan Dotson's production has been up and down, but I don't know if Jahan Dotson's performance has been up and down. He was, in his rookie year, he was explosive. He was running great routes, and there was at times in fantasy football when you were sitting there thinking, who do I play, Jahan Dotson or Terry McLaurin? Because, who's going to get it this week? And for a lot of those weeks, it was Jahan. everybody, continuously, underrates Terry McLaurin. I think that
he's a great receiver.
He's an absolute stud. And when you have Eckler, who I believe is still a great running back, but getting old, and then Brian Robinson, who was great last year. You mix that with a phenom in Jaden Daniels, and you have the receivers there to make big explosive plays, which is what you need to have in the NFL in order to put up big points. There's a path there for him to be really good.
Yeah, I think you make some great points, and I think Jaden Daniels will be a solid quarterback in this league. I just don't know if I see it happening right away because he's going to an organization that has had a interesting tenure over the couple years that hasn't really developed a quarterback. I mean, can you name me a Washington quarterback that they've selected very high and have been able to translate to success day one?
RG3.
Good pull, Adrian. That was great.
That was great. That was a good one.
One of the few players in the NFL that I wish would have never gotten hurt.
Me too.
Same.
Zay, I'm going to swing it to you because we forgot about a couple skill players on Washington. Don't forget about Luke McCaffrey, who played for Rice. There you go.
Oh, no.
And then the eye rolls come. Zach Ertz, the tight end. And then here we go. We got some other ones. Don't forget, Dan Quinn's manning this team now. He's their head coach. He brought in Dorrance Armstrong from the Cowboys.
Dante Fowler, too.
Dante Fowler as well. That's a great point. And then you look deeper in their quarterback depth chart. Best quarterback room in the NFL. You got Jaden Daniels, Marcus Mariota, Sam Hartman. Okay.
Notre Dame.
Best quarterback room in the NFL. Adrian couldn't even say that with a straight face.
I know.
We got the best quarterback in the room. Come on.
Okay, let's stop that right there. Zay, jump in here. Your thoughts, NFC East, Michael's analysis. Go ahead.
I think the Commanders can make some noise. They can make some noise.
You're buying in on the Commanders.
I'm buying in on the Commanders. I'm not saying, playoffs year one, but I think they'll be in contention. They'll be much improved. I think their ceiling is a little low, though, with Dan Quinn. I think they can be a team that wins maybe 7 to 10 games a year, but I don't see them, improving much off that.
Okay, I like it. Now, I'll ask you, well, this is actually interesting, too. Two players who have Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl ties in the quarterback room, Jaden Daniels and Sam Hartman. It's crazy. You don't see that. You don't see that at all. I like it.
An underrated storyline, though, I will say, though, that's kind of been heating up on Twitter is I wonder if they'll reunite Jaden Daniels with his boy from ASU, Brandon Ayuk. That's been, if you look at Brandon Ayuk on Twitter and just this whole contract negotiations with the Niners going absolutely nowhere, I really want to see if Washington tries to make a push for that. I think that would be huge for Daniels.
Okay, Zay, you had another point to bring up.
Only one of those quarterbacks played in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
Very true. And one of them won and had Frosted Flakes poured on him. And he was
that
also,
one was the Heisman.
Yeah, and he was the Heisman.
Was undrafted, so I think they should tell you what you should do when you play in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me jump in here for a quick 15 seconds and play devil's advocate to what I had just said. The path where it becomes very, very difficult for Daniels to become the second best quarterback in the NFC East is Jalen Hurts is on an elite team with a great
He's
coach.
Number one.
Right.
Yeah,
he's number one. And that's just, he almost doesn't have to play nearly as good as the other guys in the conference because of the squad he's on and the way they run that offense. And then the other thing behind that is as negative as we get about, I should say you guys, you Texans that live in this state who get extremely negative on the Cowboys. Dak was elite for the regular season last year, which is, status quo.
Which I all brought up in there. I gave him his credit.
Right. And so that's where it gets really difficult for me for Jaden to slide into that number 2 spot, just with how productive the Cowboys offense has been, at least in the regular season of the past couple of years.
Okay, I like it. Now, I just want to say this, guys. While we're talking a lot for Jaden Daniels, remember, this quarterback draft class, especially in the first round, was just all over the place. And it was crazy, right? Because you got Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix Jr.
Who should have not gone there.
Bo Nix. And all these quarterbacks taken in the first round, they're not all going to work. They're not all going to have success. In fact, 50% of them are going to bust, and maybe even more than 50%. Maybe that number is closer to 60, or that percentage is closer to 60%. So I wonder, it's just kind of law of averages. Who's going to have the right system for him? The last thing I'll say about Jaden Daniels and why I believe he'll be successful, he has Cliff Kingsbury as his head or his offensive coordinator. So a little QB whisperer. Patrick Mahomes, he's obviously worked with Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, you name it, and now Jaden Daniels working with another quarterback here in his long list of quarterbacks that he's worked with here in the past. So There you go. Hey, guys, let's wrap it up next. We got Tim Haggerty on deck. That's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have some time with Tim Haggerty here coming up soon enough. I just want to mention this as well, right before we get to our KVIA update right here, and then we get to Charlie 1 for our final traffic update of the afternoon. Again, 6 o'clock, rest of the week here on 600 ESPN El Paso. And earlier today, we got a chance to go to Le French Touch. This is at the Shops of Solana, the food court, formerly known as Sunland Park Mall. They are our newest dining deals. So starting this Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning, you can get $50 of food for just $25 from Le French Touch. It was fantastic. We went earlier today. We had a margarita pizza. It was fantastic. We also had a crepe as well. They were so nice. I loved Jessica and Paul, who we got a chance to meet from Le French Touch. It's a beautiful spot. And actually, you can just go for quick to-go orders. So if you're looking for a great pizza night, you don't want to do the typical places that you always do, well, check out Le French Touch. It's out at the Shops of Solana, the food court, easy to park in and just get it to go. And again, it's dining deals, $25 to get $50 of food out at Le French Touch. So this is happening this Friday. Go to 600ESPNElPaso.com, click on the Dining Deals tab on the Must Read bar, and you could just go there on the 600 ESPN El Paso mobile app by clicking Dining Deals button as well. So that's coming up here on Friday. Le French Touch out at Shops of Solana. Let's take a break right now. When we come back, Tim Haggerty on deck, Chihuahuas baseball, Oklahoma City. This all coming up next here, 600 ESPN El Paso.
Now, in the El Paso Metroplex, a couple of rough spots still remain. First of all, in central Montana at airport, traffic lights not working, but that's also your construction area there. Montana and airport, a lot of congested traffic there. Montana at Lockhart, we have a crash there on the east side. And then where are we really tapping on the brakes? In fact, we're stop and go. US 54 South to the Juarez Port right there. That's backing up traffic right there. Also, the I-10 West to the Juarez Port, that's backing up traffic to Reynolds. And a lot of traffic congestion going to that Isleta Bridge right now. You're backed up there. Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Rimcon, approaching 78 years in business. Famous tortilla soup, the popular Mr. T specials, the full menu, fresh, delicious, affordable. Don't forget those delicious sopapillas. Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Rimcon, Charlie 1600, ESPN, El Paso.
is our final countdown here, and we are here with Zay Galindo, Michael Plundo, Alberto Ureta, Cade McConnell, winding up the show here with the voice of the El Paso Chihuahuas, Tim Haggerty. Tim, it was great to see you yesterday in person. I don't get to see you in the flesh enough, and it's great to see you and run into you unexpectedly, especially when we don't expect to run into you. But we got to meet not only you, but also Carson Haggerty at UTEP basketball practice. Your thoughts on the team? You got a chance to watch them firsthand.
Yeah, that was awesome. I appreciate Mark Bruner of UTEP Athletics for extending that invite. It was a great way to spend the Monday non-game day for the Chihuahuas. My young son is 8 and plays on a youth basketball team, so as you guys can imagine, when we were all 8 years old, just seeing players dunking in front of you 20 feet away, his jaw dropped. The other thing that was notable, Adrian, was after practice, every coach and every player walked over, gave me a handshake, gave my son a handshake or a high five. It's obvious that that's an important thing to the program. I was just so impressed by Joe Golding. I'm there with my 8-year-old son, so I wasn't really studying the X's and O's, but when I'm observing these people are here at our practice, I'm going to go over and give them a few minutes. And you think about it in his job, there's so many people throughout the city that want those couple of minutes with a Division I basketball coach, and just really impressive, socially talented guy.
That's awesome stuff. What did you think of the team itself? I mean, without diving into the X's and O's, they're a little smaller, but they like that approach. They're going to go 4 guards, 1 true forward, and that number 4 spot's going to kind of be a hybrid in itself. But your thoughts on just the team?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people across the city, I'm really curious to how this season starts off because of how exciting the finish was last year to make it all the way to the conference championship game. And I was really impressed by the energy of a July practice. I didn't even realize that Miners basketball had practices in the summertime. I thought maybe they reconvened in the fall. But it was amazing just to see how well-conditioned they were. I mean, to me, it felt like observing a basketball practice in January, only it was in July.
Tim, what's interesting is when I first started covering UTEP basketball, they would host these like prospect workouts. So instead of having like summer workouts open to the media, like when I was first covering this team back in like 2015, they would do like prospect workouts, which feels like it was trying to be very innovative at the time because that was when recruiting websites were first really starting to be popular on social media and stuff like that. So UTEP would get a recruit, they would host them like in the Foster Stevens, like you were seeing, but it was just one player working out in front of all the media, and it would be like 8 10 media members there just watching one player practice. So to see where we've evolved to, which is now open practices like what we saw yesterday and the media availability beforehand, it's still refreshing to me as a media member, but at the same time it's an exciting brand of basketball that this team plays. They're very intense. They've got 10 players returning, which is also something that we don't see in college basketball. So I'm ready to hear your thoughts from afar watching this team, as the season gets kind of coming here, in November or so.
Yeah, I look forward to it. My son and I will go to many games throughout the fall and winter. And I like the first part of what you just said, the openness of practices. I know when it comes to specific games and strategies, certain things are going to be closed. But I think whenever possible, any sports program should be accessible to the fans, to the media, to admit when things aren't going well, to celebrate when things are going well. It connects those fans to the program and creates some transparency. To me, if I was a college basketball coach, and it seems like Joe Golding does this very well, you'd want the local media covering your team to be informed, to be able to be on the airwaves and explain to people what's going on in an intelligent way.
Speaking of intelligent, you got to meet Alberto Ureta yesterday.
He is intelligent. I'm not laughing at that part. I'm just laughing at your segue there. Yes, it was nice to meet Alberto in person. He was there taking some photos. When I introduced him to my son, I said he sometimes sleeps in the radio station, and my son looked at him like he was crazy, which he might be.
Yeah, he was baffled. I really feel bad. I tried to play it off with the joke. I don't think he understood it, but I hope he knows. I don't really sleep here all the time.
Well, I'll make sure, now that I know that's important, I'll make sure tomorrow I explain to him that you don't do it all the time.
Okay.
But that you defended doing it sometimes, which is cool. I like your dedication. You didn't want to miss that meeting.
It's got to be done sometimes.
Hey,
Yes.
Tim, tonight you're going to a ballpark that you really like. Let's talk about the game tonight here. Chihuahuas taking on Oklahoma City. It's Gabe Mosser on the mound for El Paso. And your thoughts on just the ballpark. You're out at Chickasaw, Bricktown Ballpark in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, this is a ballpark that opened up in the late 90s, but it has aged well. There's a really cool backdrop of some brick buildings. It's right in the downtown. It's not, in the same category as Southwest University Park. For any fans wondering about that, that is my favorite. I do consider the Chihuahuas ballpark the best, and I'm saying that as objectively as possible. There are other people that say that also. But as far as places we go on the road, this is definitely one of my favorites. There's great memories here. The Chihuahuas won their Pacific Coast League Championship in this park, September 17th, 2016. Usually a good energy here. My biggest goal tonight, guys, is to not call this team the Oklahoma City Dodgers, because this year they have rebranded temporarily to Oklahoma City Baseball Club.
Wow.
And now next year they're going to have a more local name. And the Oklahoma City PR staff was explaining to me today and said this is the full on-air explanation, is that the AAA club is no longer owned by the Major League Los Angeles Dodgers. So with that, they separated from the team named Dodgers. They are still the Dodgers AAA affiliate. They're just no longer owned by Dodgers management. So next year they're going to have a new name. So that's my goal, 6 games here. Do not say Oklahoma City Dodgers, which I grew so used to saying over the past decade.
So maybe we can help you out with the team, or help them out with a team name eventually down the line. Maybe something like Commanders. I don't think anybody's used that from like a football team or something like that before. So that could be a possibility. There's also a Thunder possibility, because we've seen that happen in Oklahoma City, and maybe a little tornado or something like that. Hurricane. We'll bounce around with the brain trust here over the coming days, Tim, and maybe we'll get back to you with some better stuff. But hey, you got a game to call. Thank you so much for the time as always, Tim. It's always great to catch up.
Okay, thanks, Adrian.
Tim Haggerty on deck. Chihuahuas baseball is next. Oklahoma City versus the El Paso Chihuahuas, the Oklahoma City Baseball Club. I almost messed it up. I almost said Dodgers while we were just saying that. That'll do it for us here on the show today. We're back in action at 4 tomorrow here on 600 ESPN El Paso.
Time now for the starting lineups, brought to you by Budweiser Zero. Budweiser Zero, full flavored zero alcohol brew. The Chihuahuas are 6-6. Matthew Batten leads off and plays third base. Nate Mondu at second base, hitting seconds. Batting third is center fielder Jose Azocar. Tirso Ordelis is in left field, hitting fourth. Batting fifth is right fielder Eggy Rosario. Graham Pauly's at first base, hitting sixth. Cal Mitchell, the DH, batting seventh. Kevin Plawecki catching, batting eighth. Mason McCoy, the shortstop, bats ninth. The Chihuahuas are the Padres' AAA team. They're managed by Pete Zamora. And again, Batten third base, Mondu second base, Azocar center field. Ordelis left field, Rosario right field, Pauly first base. Mitchell DH, Plawecki catcher, and McCoy shortstop. We'll have the Dodgers starting lineup prior to the bottom of the first inning. Tonight's home plate umpire is Mark Stewart Jr. Chris Marco is the crew chief at first base umpire, and Casey James is the third base umpire. So in steps Matthew Batten. And Chris Valamont delivers fastball for a called strike. So the series is underway. The Chihuahuas at Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark. It's 88 degrees here in the first inning as Batten steps in. The 0-1 from Valamont is another called strike. This is Valamont's 8th game. 1 win and 3 losses and a 9.31 ERA. He has pitched in 29 innings this year. His 0-2, taken high and in for a ball. 2 balls and 2 strikes. In those 29 innings, he's allowed 37 hits. He has struck out 19 and walked 21. 1-2 to Batten. A ball on a breaking ball, but the catcher for the Dodgers, Oklahoma City Baseball Club, a former Oklahoma City Dodger behind the plate. Hunter Fiducia is challenging it, and it is a strike, which means Batten is out. So a first inning challenge goes Oklahoma City's way. And there is one down. Now Nate Mondew, left-hand hitting second baseman. He's hitting .285 with 5 home runs and 41 batted in. The pitch. Swinging foul ball out of play. Mondew had a triple on Sunday, which was his 7th this year, which is the second most in the league. And the 0-1 from Valamont. Fastball outside for a ball. The Chihuahuas have their black jerseys on. El Paso written in white across the front. 1-1 to Mondew. Called a strike. And now Mondew's challenging. So we've had 2 challenges in the first 2 at-bats of the game. Mondew is right. The 2 teams both have their 3 challenges left, as both players were right. The catcher Fiducia on one, and the batter Mondew on this one. The 2-1. The swing and a miss. Oklahoma City has white jerseys on, blue hats with the OKC logo. The pitcher Valamont's socks are up high, blue in color for those socks.